Alright, what's up, everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today we have episode 8 of season 2 of the Look In series, a series where at the end of every team season, I look and recap their team, look at the future, what state the team is in, and all the stuff like that. Today's episode is on the Brooklyn Nets, and I have a lot to say about this Brooklyn Nets team. So we're going to get into it. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. Join the membership if you want to learn more about the membership. There's a video on my channel explaining all of it. You can go back and watch that. If you miss any other look-in episodes, you can go back and watch those as well. Link to my Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that in the description down below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So the Brooklyn Nets this season, they finished 32-50, finishing number 12 in the Western. Number 11 in the Eastern Conference. 11 in the Eastern Conference. They're 32-50. Their worst record since 2018 when they lost 54 games. And this is actually the first time in 5 years, first time since that 2018 season that they will not be in the playoffs, which honestly, I didn't even really recognize that. They've been in the playoffs for 5 years in a row, which for Brooklyn, that's really good with the Nets. I mean, they haven't had that success since the early 2000s New Jersey's teams, you know? So, yeah, interesting that they've been in the playoffs the last 5 years, and now this year they're going to break that streak. Very bad year. Coming into the year, there weren't that many high expectations. I thought they were a play-in team. I think I predicted them to be in the play-in. They didn't really have a superstar, but they had a lot of good role players, so I thought maybe they could string together some wins like that. Interested to see what happened with Mikal Bridges. Is that late season after he went to Brooklyn, averaged 27 points per game? How real is that? Is he a number one option? Can some of these guys build up their value? Can this team be one of those teams that, can get you on certain nights? But they weren't. They were a bad team this season. Not a fun watch at all either. A lot of just weird stuff going on in Brooklyn. They finished 32-50, and I'm gonna be completely honest. After All Star break, I did not watch this team much. Like there was not really a reason to watch the Brooklyn Nets beside Cam Thomas dropping 40 pieces. Like that's really the only thing to watch for Brooklyn. Because after that, it wasn't fun. There was no excitement really in Brooklyn. They were just there. And honestly, they were probably one of my least watched, maybe even my least watched team this season. Like I did not really care to watch any Brooklyn Nets games, you know. And I think they fumbled a lot of different things. I think they fumbled the NBA trade deadline. I think they have a lot of pieces that coming into the year. I was saying they're a team full of role players, And I think once you see the direction this team was going in, you definitely could have traded off some guys, got some picks and stuff like that to build for the future. They didn't. For some reason, they decided to hang on to all their chips and kind of held on to them a little bit too late to a point where it's like now teams aren't really giving you as much as you could have if you would have traded them a little bit earlier. And now you're just kind of there. Now you're a 50-loss team. Future is not looking bright, and just things in Brooklyn don't look great right now. I'm very kind of concerned, or maybe a little bit, for this Brooklyn Nets future. But I think it's time for a rebuild in Brooklyn. It's time for a rebuild. It's time to blow it all up. It's time to bring everything back down, to scraps, and let's do this over again. Even though that's what they were doing a couple years ago, and then they got good, and then KD, Kyrie, and James Harden all came and went like that, and it's time for a rebuild again in Brooklyn. It's time. There's not really much for the future that you can hold on to. It's not like this team's gonna get any better. This team that they have on the roster right now is gonna get better anytime soon at all either. You know, it's just it's bad. It's bad. They gotta. It's time to reset everything. It's time to rebuild in Brooklyn. It's time for a new, everything. And one of the big things was their coaching search. And after last night, we have their new coach, Jordi Fernandez, assistant for the Sacramento Kings, has been in talks for the past two off seasons as maybe being a guy to become a head coach. Is now going to be the next Brooklyn Nets head coach. Which I like this move. Kind of a guy like giving him the first opportunity to be a coach. He was under Mike Brown, all that stuff. He's been again the last couple of years been a guy that's been talked on throughout the coaching market, and now he gets his chance to be a head coach. I like that for Brooklyn. I think that's a good start. And now it's about let's trade some of these people and get some picks. Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges last year when he got traded to the Phoenix Suns in the Kevin Durant trade, he averaged 26 points per game in 27 games. And coming into this year, it was like, can he be an all-star level player? Can he take a jump? are we seeing a new Mikal? And he didn't have a bad year at all. Honestly, his second best year since last season. But he didn't take that All Star jump, and he kind of showed, yeah, Mikal Bridges is not a number one, which is fine. He's a really good number two and number three. Mikal Bridges isn't a star player. He still averaged 19, 4, and 3 on decent efficiency, 43, 37, 81. Still played in all 82 games. So like he still was, yeah, really, really good this season, just not a number one. Cam Johnson is an interesting piece, and also, by the way, Mikal Bridges, after this year, has 2 years left on his contract. So that could be, and is only 23 and 24, which isn't that crazy, especially for the production he's going to give you on both ends. I think you can definitely get a lot with Mikal Bridges. Again, teams like the Grizzlies and the Rockets have been in talks the past couple years with draft capital to take on a guy like Mikal Bridges because he's a guy that can really contribute to a team. Cam Johnson is an interesting thing. Cam Johnson just ended the first year of a 4-year, $94 million contract. He only played in 58 games last year, averaged 13 points per game. Kind of paid him to see if he can take a jump, see if he had anything left in him, like any more. Is there more with Cam Johnson? No. He's a really good shooter, solid defender, but he's a role player at the end of the day. And teams would like to get Cameron Johnson. I don't know about the money, 25, 23, 21, and then 23, which isn't horrible money, especially for a guy like Cam Johnson. But, it's something you got to think about. Um, Dorian Finney-Smith, at this point, Dorian Finney-Smith has another year left and then a player option. He is like the perfect wing for any playoff team in the NBA. Get something with him. Um, yeah, they have a couple guys that you can trade on the market and get something good for them. So I think there's a world where the Nets next year, trade some of these guys and potentially just, get some draft compensation back. I don't know about getting young players. Maybe with Mikal Bridges, if you're trading like the Rockets, maybe you can get a good young player. But if not, you can get draft pick compensation back for them. Because they're not going to have any picks in the 2024 NBA draft. They don't have no picks. Their pick is in Houston right now. That's projected at number 9. So the Houston Rockets potentially can have another top 10 pick coming in this year. And they don't have a second round pick either. So the Nets are not going to have a pick in this upcoming draft unless they trade into the draft, late in the first or in the second round. The Nets are not going to have a draft pick right now, which is another complicated thing and why this future doesn't look amazing either, because they're not going to have any draft picks. No rookies are coming in this year for Brooklyn right now, unless, again, they do make a trade at the NBA draft day and they get a second round pick in there or something like that. But, yeah, that's another thing that makes this Nets, team future not look great. Then you look at free agency. They have projected about negative $30 million in cap space. Nick Claxton is going to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. Nick Claxton, you paid him a 2-year deal a couple years ago. He's been really good the last 2 years. This year he averaged almost 12 and 10 with 2 blocks on 63% shooting. Last year he had a huge jump. He's still only 24 years old. Still a really good big. Interested to see what the Nets do with him this offseason. Do the Nets keep him around because he's still young and he's been really solid for them? Or do they say, you know what, we're going to go full rebuild, Nick Claxton, you're gone? And because I think, a lot of playoff teams would love to have a Nick Claxton type of dude. Again, a guy's going to rebound, guy's going to protect the paint, block shots, score easy ones, like prototypical kind of center that you want nowadays. And he's only 24 years old. So I think Nick Claxton is going to be a very interesting thing in free agency for the Nets and for everybody else. And then after that, they don't really have any big free agents, like Dennis Smith Jr., Lonnie Walker, who I think had a really good year, but it was just plagued with injuries. Trendon Watford is a restricted free agent, so they don't really have anything crazy on the free agent market. And then you have the Ben Simmons situation. Ben Simmons only played in 15 games last year, averaged 6 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. When he did play, he was all right. It's just, again, the injuries have been hitting him. The back injury is still lingering, and right now it just, I don't know. I don't know for Ben Simmons. I don't know what really is going to happen for his future. Next year, he's going to be in the last year of his 5-year extension. He's getting paid $40 million next season. To do what exactly? Probably nothing. But he's going to get 40. He's going to have $40 million on the Brooklyn Nets book. I would say trade, but who's taking Ben Simmons $40 million? Not me. Not me. And I don't think any other 29 GM is really taking that contract. So he probably just gonna have to sit on the bench next year as well, depending on how healthy he is or not. So it's just a really sad situation at that point as well. This Nets team, it's time for a rebuild. The future does not look bright right now, but you do have pieces like Mikal Bridges, like Cam Johnson, and them to really see what the future is like. You haven't even talked about Cam Thomas. You have Cam Thomas as well, who is going to be up for some money pretty soon as well. Next year is going to be the last year of his team option. He's going to be eligible for extension next season, or coming into this season as well. Interesting to see what happens with him. This year he led the team in scoring. He averaged 22 points per game this year. He's basically the only offense they had. When the offense was doing nothing, it was like, all right, here, Cam Thomas, do something, go score, you know. And we still don't know what his role is, honestly, either. Like, is he a starting caliber player? Is he a six man? Is he a future star? Like, what? We don't know yet what Cam Thomas really is, you know. And he's still 22 years old. I think the Nets are going to keep him around at least. I think he's one of the only safe things right now in Brooklyn is that you have a Cam Thomas. But also, then again, his extension is going to be up soon. And how much are the Nets willing to pay Cam Thomas? Are they willing to give him money and be like, you know what, you're going to be a future part of our team? Or is it going to be like, we don't think you're going to be as good as some other young players. We don't know your role yet, so we're not going to pay you that much. Is he going to be a net for a long time? Like, I don't really know. You know, and it's not like they have anything young on the bench that's sitting there that's going to be star. Like Noah Clowney, he had some really good games at the end of the year. First round pick out of Alabama. He's really young. He's still only 19 years old. I think he's going to be a solid player. Is he going to be a star? No, but I think he's going to be a solid player. A guy that can protect the rim, shoot the three ball well, stuff. Dariq Whitehead, who was also a first round pick this year. He only played in 2 games this year. He was a top guy in high school, went to Duke, had some good run. Maybe can he be something in the future? I don't know. You know, Trendon Watford is 23. I really like what he did when he did get his minutes in Brooklyn. He is restricted free agent though, so are you going to pay him? I don't know. Like, there's nothing really safe, I feel like, right now in Brooklyn, and it shouldn't be safe. Again, I think a full-on rebuild has to happen in Brooklyn. It's time. It's time to trade your pieces, trade Mikal, trade Cam Johnson, trade Dwayne Finney-Smith, trade everybody. Let's get the draft capital going again. Let's clear out everything, and let's restart with a new coach, new players, new everything. Brooklyn just needs a new everything right now. You know, that's what I would do, at least if I'm a Brooklyn Nets organization, is I'm trading everybody, getting as much draft pick compensation and young talent as we can, and working from there. You know, because it's not like you have that much, you know, for the future to begin with. So we'll see what happens with Brooklyn, but I think a full-on rebuild has to come for Brooklyn. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you like the content around here, consider subscribing, turn notifications, all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. Join the membership. If you missed any other Lookin' episodes, you can go back and watch them. The playlist is going to be up here. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.